We want to support all postgraduate students who are in our club to be able to produce knowledge with support. And we do this by offering individual mentorship sessions, research mentorship sessions, and we also do it by offering webinars like the one we have today on systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So this is going to be a very interesting topic, and I'm glad that you have joined us today to spend the time here with us to learn. So today we are once again very blessed to have Ruben with us. He has been a trainer for a couple of webinars now this year. And Ruben is coming to us all the way from Ghana. He's a postgraduate research assistant in the Department of Agricultural Economics, Agribusiness, and Extension. He's a trainer and also a part owner of Bright Hills Research based in Ghana. He's also a data analyst and a researcher, and he's also a peer reviewer. You might know a couple of journals that he's part of, Springer, Emerald, Springer Nature, Emerald, and Taylor and Francis journals. So we are in great company today. And Ruben, we are so excited to once again learn from you and get an idea of what systematic reviews and meta-analysis are all about. Welcome, Ruben, and welcome everybody.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very grateful for the introduction. So I am Robin Amelda. Today we are going to look at the difference between systematic reviews and then meta-analysis and the core step that we are going to take, how we should actually do systematic review, the steps, and how we should also conduct meta-analysis. Okay, so we move to the first slide and then start right away. So with this webinar, with the session, we have the part 1, part 2, and part 3. The foundation is going to be on why evidence synthesis matters. So we will touch on what is evidence synthesis, the type of reviews that we have, and what is a systematic review, define it, know what is it, and also know what meta-analysis is. So we will know what meta-analysis is. And then we'll do side-by-side comparison between meta-analysis and systematic reviews. And then with the process, the part 2, which is going to be the process, deal with how the step that we are going to take to conduct systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So planning and prospect registration, the Prisma flow chart, how to actually do that, the screening and data extraction, then how to use the risk of bias tools, and the meta-analysis step. And then the execution, we are going to also see how we execute. I'll share my screen to show few method, how we actually do them. Okay, so these are the learning outcomes that we are going to cover. You should know the difference between systematic review and meta-analysis. And you should be able to do it and become a researcher that is good at it. And we should be able to also use the Prisma framework to conduct a systematic review. And then you should be able to know when a meta-analysis is possible and when it is not possible. So by the end of this session, these are the things that you should know or should put in mind. Okay, why evidence synthesis is important. So we'll actually dive in what is evidence synthesis. So one, evidence synthesis is important in a way that systematic reviews and meta-analysis sits at the top. If you look at it, if you look at the pyramid, systematic review and meta-analysis sits at the top. You see, that means they are the highest ever synthesis we have so far. So I'll talk about the steps. One, we have the opinion expert opinions and editorials. They are not something that are mostly peer reviewed, so we don't actually regard them that much. Then we move to case series and case reports. For case series and case report, they are also good, but the trust level is a bit down. Then we move a bit higher to cohorts and case control studies. So cohort and case controls, maybe these our normal studies that we used to do, cross-sectional studies and that stuff. They are also ranked higher a bit than case series and case reports. And then we have the randomized control trials. So from the randomized control trial to expert opinion, we see them as the primary research that we normally publish individually. So they are individual studies that we publish. Then from there, we move to systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So systematic reviews and meta-analysis, we rank them as high, all because they consist of a lot of studies. You see, they consist of a lot of studies, so we trust them more for decision making. Because systematic review, we're going to combine 2 or more, let me say about 50, 30, 20, 10 studies, and then make a conclusion out of it. So if you are let's say a policymaker, you do your policy or you actually make a decision based on systematic reviews and meta-analysis more than the individual studies. So systematic reviews are normally done by experts, and you should do it very well so that they can use it for policy making. And the highest form of evidence, the highest form of evidence, systematic and meta-analysis, I explained that. Now, a single study can be biased. This is the justification why systematic reviews is at the top. A single study can be biased or small or misleading. The findings from the individual studies, they can be biased, they are small. So a rigorous synthesis of many studies will combine evidence from many contexts. So somebody will find some finding from Ghana, someone will find it from Kenya, some from maybe UK, from Nigeria, from other countries. Then when you combine all those evidence together, you find something very solid for your decision making. And it reduces individual study biases. Systematic review reduces these individual study biases. And it reveals the heterogeneity across settings. So it will tell you the findings. How is it different from each other? Are they too wide or they are okay for policy making? And it informs clinical guideline and policy. That's why policy makers are more interested in systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Okay, and to help you identify gaps for future research. That's why systematic reviews are always at the top. Okay, so we have to look at field review. We have type of literature reviews. So this is a quick comparison of the major literature reviews that we have. So the first one is the narrative review or the traditional review. So the traditional review is the normal review that we used to do in our thesis. So when you see literature review session in your thesis, basically it is traditional review, or we also call it narrative review. So you are just narrating a story, you combine existing studies together and then actually synthesize it, but you're not actually going to appraise it. Yeah, so now we move to systematic review. Now, systematic review focus on, it answer a focused question using explicit or reproducible method. So normally you appraise the study. Systematic review will appraise the study. You have to actually search the article systematically. You search the article systematically, do proper screening, and then actually appraise each of them before you decide either you do meta-analysis or not, or you do a narrative synthesis or narrative analysis. So you see, systematic review, the key feature in systematic review is, one, it is transparent, it is replicable, you can actually replicate it or duplicate. When you do it in Kenya, somebody in Ghana should be able to also do it and find a similar answer. And it is most of the time registered, and it follows a standard it follows, let's say, a standard framework. So that's about systematic reviews. I want to know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, please, we can hear you.
That's fine, thank you. I want to just be sure so that it will not be like I am talking alone. So to continue now, we move to meta-analysis. So meta-analysis is all about combining studies together, which we delve into the statistical analysis or the quantitative analysis as aspect of the systematic review. So meta-analysis is just like the data analysis aspect of the systematic review. So the bigger umbrella is the systematic review. So I'll actually talk more about the meta-analysis, how it differs from the systematic review. But this table is just to show the type of review that we have. Then you can do a scoping review. When you want to actually map an area, you don't have the time to do a full systematic. You can do a scoping review. They are a bit faster. You can do a systematic search, but you broaden the question and then also actually find something better to actually publish. Then people also do rapid review. Rapid review is just like the short form of the systematic review. So if it produces a timely evidence summary under the time, so if you don't have much time to do a full systematic review, then that's when you go for the rapid review. Then we have the umbrella review. Umbrella review is just the systematic reviews of reviews. So a lot of systematic reviews have been conducted. So you don't need to go and then do another systematic review for the same field again. What you normally do is you do an umbrella review. Then we have the integrative review. When you want to combine evidence from diverse study, from maybe quantitative, qualitative, other method that are not standard, you have to do integrative review. And the last one is the meta-synthesis. This is different from meta-analysis. The meta-synthesis actually integrates findings from qualitative studies. So if you have a lot of qualitative studies and you want to bring them together and make a decision, you have to go for the meta-synthesis. So what is systematic review? Now, what is systematic review when somebody asks you? So one, a systematic review uses an explicit systematic method. But the key words here is the explicit and a systematic method. So systematic review have steps and it's have to follow a protocol. You have to follow a framework, an existing framework. It's unlike the traditional review. For the traditional review, it doesn't follow a system, but systematic review always follow a particular system. So a systematic review is defined by Page and Etat that a review that uses explicit systematic method to collect and synthesize findings of studies that address clearly formulated questions. So I will explain systematic review as when you combine a lot of studies together, then you make a new conclusion out of it. Is what I term a systematic review. And you do that by actually doing a systematic search of the literature. Then you take your time and screen the abstract screening and then full text screening. Then you come down and then extract data. When you finish your data extraction, then you do your analysis. Either you do meta-analysis or you do narrative synthesis. That's the actual step of systematic reviews. So a qualitative synthesis of what the literature says or plan, transparent and replicable, that's what systematic review is basically about. So when you want to actually compare it with meta-analysis, then we can say that systematic review is qualitative, whilst the meta-analysis is quantitative. So what are the key features of systematic review? It uses a protocol. So protocol is just put it like a proposal. So you have to develop a protocol for your systematic review. So when you finish your protocol, you register it. You can, when you are in the medical sciences, that's when you register it in Prospero. You can, when you are from the health, the social sciences, then you have to consider something OFS platform. Then systematic review, you have to do exhaustive search. You have to search all the major databases. You don't need to only maybe take only Scopus. Though Scopus is very broad, but you can't only use only Scopus, then you ignore other databases. You have to search from Scopus, Web of Science, Google Scholar, let's say, the individual small databases. It should be reproducible. It should be something that someone should can do it. When you do it in one country, someone should be able to confirm your results. It uses formal quality appraisals, and it's a structured synthesis. So that's what makes systematic review very unique from other reviews. Okay. Now, we move to what is a meta-analysis. So meta-analysis is basically a statistical combination of quantitative results from two or more studies to produce a single pooled estimate of effects. So meta-analysis is, let me narrate it this way for you to understand it from the basic background. Most of us here, I believe, know about thesis, how to write maybe a thesis, or we are familiar with student thesis. So, or maybe those that have been doing publication, I believe you know how the scientific writing should be. Most of the time, when you are doing quantitative study research, these cross-sectional studies or CRT studies, when you do it, you write your introduction, you write your literature review, you write your methodology, then you come down, collect data, you go and collect quantitative data. Then you use this statistical method. Example, you can use t-test, z-test, maybe regression, ANOVA, any other statistical method. Then you actually analyze the data that you've collected from the field. When you analyze finish, then you report it. So that's where you write your chapter 4, results and discussion. Either you write the results separate from the discussion or you combine them. Then you write your last chapter, which is going to be the conclusion. We follow similar steps for systematic review. So before you do the meta-analysis is just like your statistical method that you are going to do in your systematic review. So sometimes they are not stand-alone research. Sometimes too, they are stand-alone. So most of the time, meta-analysis are embedded into the systematic review. So it's the data analysis method for systematic review. That's basically meta-analysis. So before you do meta-analysis, you have to consider that is all the studies quantitative? Do you have a comparable data that you collect? Is all of them actually reporting the mean that you can collect the mean and find the pool effects or do analyze the effect size? You have to ask those questions, ask yourself. So according to the Cochrane Handbook, according to them, a meta-analysis statistical step usually performed inside a systematic review. It's not a separate study. Okay, now what are the key features? Now, meta-analysis must have a pool effect size. When you are conducting a meta-analysis, we have the pool effect size. I'll show you a sample of them in the next slide. Then we also talk about the confidence intervals. Normally, we have the forest plots, the heterogeneity, I square. Heterogeneity is one of the most important aspect I should look at is let me say the key feature, the key factor that actually influence meta-analysis and systematic review. If the heterogeneity is much, let's say above 80 or above 70, it's not actually attractive to do meta-analysis. Then we have the sensitivity analysis. We will look at that in the next slide down. Now we are going to have side-by-side comparison of the systematic review and meta-analysis. Okay, with a purpose, systematic review actually synthesize and summarize evidences in tables. So when you are doing systematic review alone, we have systematic review without meta-analysis, and we have systematic review with meta-analysis. But you can't say meta-analysis without systematic review. It doesn't exist. Meta-analysis without systematic review. How can you do meta-analysis without systematic review? It doesn't work that way. So we have systematic review with meta-analysis, or only systematic review. So when you are doing only systematic review, you actually synthesize and summarize evidences in tables nicely. In tables. Now, when you talk of meta-analysis, we have to pull numbers and actually have it in a form of a diagram, or let's say a chart. That's what's called the forest plot. So pull numbers to estimate one effect. So if you want to pull effect like prevalence of malaria in Kenya, you don't want to know the overall prevalence from individual studies. You have to actually use this forest plot and find overall effect size. Now, when you talk about the nature of it, systematic review is qualitative in nature, whilst meta-analysis is quantitative in nature. So see systematic review alone as a narrative synthesis where you only actually summarize your findings in a table, nice table. But meta-analysis, you are going to actually pull numbers, pull statistical figures, and then analyze. We have a software. I normally use Stata. So you actually upload the data to Stata, and you use this statistical software to analyze, and the result will be in a form of figures, which is charts, and then sometimes you can display them in also in tables. Then data type. So for systematic review, accept any data, either qualitative or quantitative. Systematic review accepts both quantitative and qualitative data. But meta-analysis only accepts quantitative data, and they should be compatible. They should be something that are similar. If the individual studies are reporting, let's say a mean or the average, you have to make sure all the included studies in the meta-analysis also report the mean, so that you can actually put them together and get overall mean. If you are looking at the prevalence of a disease, the individual studies that you are actually considering, they must all report the prevalence, so that you put all the prevalence together. With the key outputs, systematic review is in the form of a story. That's why we call it narrative synthesis. It's in the form of a story. But meta-analysis is a pull effect, or it uses a forest plot. When it comes to the risk, the key risk, there is a bias in the search or the selection. So sometimes when you are doing systematic review, there might be some bias in the search or the selection. But when it comes to meta-analysis, the bias is combining apples with orange. Basically combining, let's say, a mean. Let's say some of the studies will report mean, some will report, let's say, some will not report the mean and rather report maybe standard deviation. Like, how can you bring mean and standard deviation together? It doesn't work like that. So the risk is that when the actual data that you want to use for the meta-analysis, if they are not similar or if they are not the same for all the studies, now meta-analysis becomes very difficult. Yes. The rule of thumb is that every meta-analysis needs a systematic review. but not every systematic review need a meta-analysis. In other words, we have meta-analysis embedded inside the systematic review. And every meta-analysis have to be inside the systematic review. You can also do only meta-analysis as a standalone study. It's also accepted. But in the process of doing the meta-analysis, you still have to do a systematic study, which is also a so always, if you are doing a meta-analysis, it's like systematic review meta-analysis. Basically, that's how it works. Now let's see a few. This slide is just to give more details about the difference between the systematic literature review and the meta-analysis. Okay, so we will have one exercise. I want to know if the audience are there with me. So, if possible, we should have maybe a breakout session, but we can do this one so that to be quick. For each of these questions or topics, decide systematic review only or systematic review with meta-analysis. So this topic 1 to A, B, C, D. So the A, are we going to do systematic review or we do meta-analysis? We want to discuss this so that we can appreciate when to actually do systematic review and when to actually do meta-analysis. So if someone can come in and then I open the floor. If you are ready, you can come in and then contribute here. Anyone to try? So
Yeah,
someone
hello.
to take it. Okay.
Yes, so I want to try.
That's
so
fine.
For A and C, I would suggest systematic review only, while B and D, systematic review plus meta-analysis.
Okay, so can you give us since this is a discussion, can you give us some reason behind your decision?
Okay, so the reason is that with A and C, our question is looking at, for A, is what is the effect of mobile money adoption on household income across sub-Saharan Africa? And then the C is also looking at whether mindfulness-based therapy reduce anxiety scores among university students. Now, for me, these two questions can take the form of qualitative data, which may not give us the quantitative results that we can use for the meta-analysis. However, with the B and C, we may have the quantitative data that we can use for the meta-analysis, and that is what I see. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you said A and D should be systematic review, right? If I hear you.
A and C. A and
Okay.
C.
A and C, okay. So we will look at them one by one, A and C, okay. Please, so again, I want one more person to also contribute. Which one will you do meta-analysis? Which one will you do systematic meta-analysis?
Okay, hello.
Yeah, come in.
Okay. For the questions that you have posed on the platform, the A to D, basically we need to get to know the questions that you'll be answering. So based on the questions that you'll be answering will determine the kind of review that you are going to do. For instance, when you pick the A, we are looking at the effect of mobile money adoption on household income. And this one, you can go along with both systematic review and meta-analysis. So you can do systematic review about it, and you can also do a meta-analysis or combine the two of them. since the effect of mobile money, we are going to check the number of people or number of people that are using mobile money. At the same time, the household income. Household income deals with numbers. So we are going to quantify the income that they get. So, or you can go with both the qualitative and then the quantitative aspect of it, which is the systematic review and meta-analysis. Then when we move to the B2, as I said earlier, it depends on the questions that you are answering would determine the kind of review that you want to do. So the prevalence and the risk factor influencing obesity and weight among adults in Kenya. So when we are dealing with weight, we don't have let's say nominal or names. We deal with numbers and the risk influencing it. So this one too, you can also go along with both the two. Then I think I'll end here. Maybe other colleagues will also have to speak about the rest. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's very great. So you talk about the A and the B. I like your explanation. Yeah, this is a good discussion. Okay, anybody that want to also talk about the C and D? I think A and B, we've talked about it very well. The C and D, anybody to also maybe contribute, or anybody want to contribute in any of them? Okay, so I think the two people that contributed did very well. No wrong answer. You see, this is a decision. This is your study. This is what you want to do. So everybody's right. Everybody, all what he said is okay, is good. So this is also me, my perspective. That doesn't mean whatever we say is the correct, because we have different perspective. But as a rule of thumb, one, we should consider systematic review first for all the topic and see which one we can add meta-analysis. That should be the approach. So when we pick the first one, what's the effect of mobile money adoption on household income across sub-Saharan Africa? So this look more quantitative. So I will start with systematic review and have it in mind that if I have good heterogeneity between the adopters and non-adopters, then I'll do a meta-analysis. So yes, this is a very good systematic review plus meta-analysis in mind. So when you are developing your protocol, you have to also state it that if the individual studies report quantitative figure, like those that adopt and those that do not adopt, that's a very quantitative figure. You can pull it and have your effect size. So you have the effect size. So here, systematic review and meta-analysis is possible. Now let's come to the second one. The prevalence and risk factors influencing obesity and overweight among adults in Kenya. So here, you think about the prevalence. The prevalence is something that it can be quantified. So I'll also start with systematic review first in mind. Then I'll see if all the studies that are coming are reporting the prevalence of obesity and overweight. So here, meta-analysis is also possible because of the prevalence. But basically, this is going to be more of systematic review because the risk factors, maybe you might not have it in numerical terms to do meta-analysis. So this one, you do the narrative synthesis. So systematic review and meta-analysis is probably something that you should consider when you are developing your protocol. Now the C, does mindful-based therapy reduce anxiety scores among university students? Since we are dealing with our anxiety scores, If all the studies actually report some score, then meta-analysis is possible. But if they didn't report, if all of them didn't report, or most of them didn't report, then only systematic review is going to be possible. You see, that's why I said that all that everybody said is correct. So somebody can decide that I'll do this only systematic review. It's not so wrong. It's not wrong. Then the last one, D. What barriers to maternal health access are reported in rural Kenya and Ghana? This is basically systematic review because I didn't see anything that we can quantify here. Barriers, challenges is something that are more qualitative. So most of the study probably will be reporting, will be using qualitative method or mixed method, which meta-analysis is not going to be possible. Yes, so here, if you are developing a protocol, the D should be systematic review only because there's no quantifiable item here. There's nothing that we are going to actually quantify here. But A, B, C, there are probability that meta-analysis can be possible based on the heterogeneity. So when you take the A, if the heterogeneity is okay, if the study reports some quantitative studies, why not then go ahead and do the meta-analysis? The prevalence, when they all report prevalence, you go ahead and do meta-analysis. The anxiety score, if the C, if all of them report some anxiety score, that's very good. You just move ahead and then do meta-analysis. So that's how we do decision in every topic. So you look at the topic and think, okay, will I do meta-analysis or I should do only systematic review? So you ask yourself. So meta-analysis is all about statistical analysis and it's only deal with numbers. So ask yourself, can you get some numbers out of this? Okay. So that is so here in a conclusion, A should be systematic review plus meta-analysis because the quantitative comparable outcome are possible. Then maybe the B, systematic review only can do. But if only, this is the condition. So this one, if somebody says systematic review only, it's also right. But if you go ahead and you see some of the studies, most of them reporting prevalence, then you can do some prevalence study there. So with the B, systematic review only or qualitative experiences for the risk factors is also correct. Then the C does mindful-based therapy reduce anxiety score among university students. Since we are doing the score, you can say the C, systematic meta-analysis is possible because randomized control trials with anxiety score can be possible here. Yes, randomized control trial with anxiety scale. So you can use anxiety scale to actually report it. So here you should think of meta-analysis. But with a B, you can think of the meta-analysis, but not strong. So the probability of meta-analysis is 50-50 in the B. So if someone decides to do systematic review, you even clear your doubts. Because here, the systematic review is based on condition. If only most of the studies or all of them reported some prevalence, then you can put them together. But if they don't, meta-analysis is not possible here. Then the D is basically systematic review only. Don't even think of meta-analysis at all. Why? Barriers is called to qualitative study. We are talking about barriers here, like the challenges, barriers affecting some. So what barrier do maternal health access are reported in a rural Kenya and Ghana? Though there is some comparable something here, we can compare Kenya and Ghana, but it is basically qualitative. There's nothing here that we are going to actually quantify. So you should think of what? Systematic review only. So systematic review without meta-analysis. People call it SWIM, narrative synthesis without meta-analysis. So any question, if you have a question from this exercise, maybe somebody who have a different perspective, you can also put your question down during the question time, then you bring it. Now, we have PICO frameworks and Prospero registration. So I'll talk about what is the PICO framework, the framework that we use for the eligibility criteria and to also structure our research questions. I'll talk about them. So most of the time in systematic review, we use the PICO framework, but we have other frameworks which we are going to look at. Then we have the PECO, the SPIDER, the PICO, and then other ones that we are going to look at in the next slide. But here, PICO is the discipline for turning a vague topic into a searchable question. PICO is the standard one that they normally use. So we have the PICO, PICO. You see? So then, let's look at the meaning. P means the population. So in your research question, you have to know the population. So who are you going to consider? Their age, their condition, the country where they are, the country that you want to consider. They are all part of the population. Are you going to consider adults? Are you going to consider children? Are you going to consider maybe animals? So that's the population for you. Then you have to think of the intervention. What intervention are you going to work on? What are you going to test? Are you going to, like the previous topic that we have, example like mobile money adoption. So you want to test that people adopt mobile money or not in maybe Kenya. Okay, so that one can be your intervention. Maybe you want to test maybe you want to do randomized control trial and test the effect of a disease. So that can be your intervention. Then the C is the comparison. What are you comparing? So in experimental research or randomized control trials, we have a control group and we have the treatment. So you can compare the treatment with the control. Or we have the placebo. You can also compare the treatment with the placebo and all the alternatives. So what are the things that you are going to compare in your study? That's for the comparison. Then the outcome talk about what is your response variable. Let me say your outcome variable. So in regression, we call it the dependent variable. So what are the outcomes that you are going to consider? So adoption like this. Adoption is going to be, let's say, independent variable. But what adoption of, so what effect are you want to look at? Maybe adoption of mobile money on their welfare. So their welfare is going to be your outcome. Welfare, if you dig deeper, maybe welfare in terms of their profitability of the business. Maybe people adopt mobile money and how it affects their business in terms of profits. So the profit here can be your outcome. So you should consider all this when you are actually framing your research question and the eligibility criteria. I normally use this framework for the eligibility criteria. So we have a table. We normally use a table to actually do this. So the population I'm looking at, the intervention I'm looking at, the comparison that I'm looking at, the outcome. So we do the framework, which is the PICO, the PICO, and I'll add the inclusion and then the exclusion. So let me give you one practical example. So assuming I'm looking at this topic, what's the effect of mobile money adoption on household income? Okay, so I have effect of mobile money adoption, that's my intervention. On household income, my outcome variable is the household income. Sub-Saharan Africa is the certain other population. Fine, so let's go now. So we are going to the inclusion and exclusion. Fine, so the inclusion aspects for the population based on the first topic, the first topic, what's the effect of mobile money adoption on household income across Sub-Saharan? I'm using that one as an example. So when I'm using this topic, the population is going to be what? Africa. So, everybody in Africa, but are you going to look at everybody in Africa? So the inclusion is that only adults. So I'll say only adults. So children, the adults are going to be in the inclusion aspect, the inclusion box. And then the exclusion box, I'll add children, animal, and other people that are not adults, our adolescents. They will be part of the exclusion. So what's the intervention? Now, effect of mobile money adoption. So the intervention I'm looking is the mobile money adoption. Okay, fine. So I'm going to test mobile money adoption. How does it affect income? So any study that actually tests mobile money adoption, mobile money, access to mobile money can be one. All those things, adoption, access to mobile money, all those things can be part of the inclusion. Then exclusion will be maybe if you use and you didn't adopt it, maybe it might be maybe I'm talking about adoption alone. So anything apart from adoption will be in my exclusion box. Then the comparison. My comparison is going to be adopters and non-adopters. I'm going to compare the income between adopters and non-adopters. So I'll do that comparison here. So the inclusion criteria will be what? Those that are comparing adopters and non-adopters. So any study that is comparing adopters with different things will be excluded. Then the outcome, all study that actually reports income. So here the outcome variable here we are looking at household income. Since our aim is for the household income, my inclusion will be any study that reports household income. If a study reports a welfare is too broad, so I'll put it in an exclusion. Unless you talk about household income. So that's how we use these frameworks. Okay, now I'll talk about the Prospero registration. It's not only Prospero, those that are in the health sciences. That's why Prospero become a hot cake. If you develop your protocol, let's say protocol is just like a proposal. If you develop it finish, you have to go and register. You go and open an account from Prospero and register it there. You are telling the world that you are doing something this way. So the major purpose, the idea behind this registration is to prevent duplicates of studies. So Prospero, when you finish the registration, it will scan all the studies that have been registered so far and see how your own is similar to them. If your own is very similar, too similar, then it's better you stop that study. Or if it's not too similar, then you can proceed. So Prospero is free. You can just go there and then open accounts and then register your protocol there. So the Prospero will register the protocol for you. Then when you finish, you can even compare your results, your final result to what you've registered. So register before data extraction begins. So when you are doing that, you have to register before you start your data extraction. And Prospero will give you a unique code. It normally starts with CRD42, something like that. So that code, when you want to actually publish your paper, you have to, these reviewers will be looking for those, or the editors will be looking for those code. If you register your protocol, it make your study unique and then credible, and they'll trust you more, they'll accept it more. I know some quite general, if you didn't register your protocol before you do your systematic review, they'll reject your paper. So put it in mind that when you are doing systematic review or meta-analysis, try your best and register it. When you are from health sciences, register it in Prospero. If you are from the social sciences, register in OSF. Just Google OSF, then the website will come. Create a free account there, register your protocol there. They normally have a template for this protocol. So when you want to register your study in OSF, go and download their templates. I even have their templates. If someone needs it, the person can contact me. Maybe I can put it in their group or something. So you use their templates, you feed their templates. When you feed their templates, that's it. You just register it on their platform. OSF. If those that are from the social sciences, those that are doing agriculture study, like let's say economics, education research, or anything that is of health sciences, I will advise that you register it in OSF. Prospero is like the standard register. It's not for all the field. Prospero focus most on health sciences. I have registered a lot of studies in Prospero, but since I'm from social sciences, the studies that are about social sciences, I don't register them in Prospero. So don't go and do that mistake, because you see Prospero here, you think it is only Prospero that you can go and register your protocol. That's no. We have other platforms. You can even Google it, you can even learn about them. If you are from social sciences, maybe you are from you are doing engineering, your study is about engineering. So engineering, actually you can Google and then find which platform you can register a protocol. You're from the engineer background. So go and look for the platform that you can register a protocol. And I repeat, only Prospero should be for health sciences. If you are from the health sciences, then Prospero is good for you. Okay. Now I want to see the type of review framework that I can use. I need the PICOS. So the PICOS or the PICOS or the PICO, you can remove the S and make it PICO. So population, you talk about who are the people that you are considering. The intervention is the treatments. Then the comparison, the alternative that you are comparing it against. And the result that the outcome is the result. And study design is which study type is eligible. So you can use the PICOS. You can use the PECOS if you are actually focusing on the risk factor. So it's not always that you use the PICOS. It's not compulsory you use only the PICOS. You can use the PECOS if you actually focus on what? Exposure. Instead of the intervention, if you are not having a treatment, placebo, a control, that kind of study, if you are not doing that, and you are focusing on risk factors, so the risk factor people are exposed to. If you are looking at those exposure, then use the PECOS. You can also use the SPIDER. You see, SPIDER is for most qualitative study. If you are going to focus on qualitative or mixed method questions, then I'll recommend SPIDER for you. So don't just hear that because we are talking about PICO. PICO is the internationally framework used for systematic review. No, we have other frameworks. Even this is the list I am familiar with, but we have other ones. I know in one of the studies we use the PEO, only population, exposure, and outcome. We are not comparing anything. So if, like example, let's pick the first one, the PICOS. You have a population, you have an intervention, but you are not comparing anything, but you have an outcome. And you don't want to consider any design at all is accepted. Then use the PIO, population, intervention, and outcome. So you will not actually consider the intervention. You will not actually consider the study design. It's also accepted. So this list is not actually static, it's flexible. You can actually, your study determine what framework you should use to actually craft your research question, and then your eligibility criteria. And I told you earlier on that we normally use this one to actually do the inclusion and exclusion. So when you talk about the population, what are people that you are including? What are the people that you are excluding? When you talk of the intervention, what is the inclusion and the exclusion? When you talk about the comparison, what are you including? What are you excluding? Now let's talk about the PICO. The PICO, the small o, you have population, phenomenon, and then context. Here, okay, let me, I didn't finish with the SPIDER, sorry. The SPIDER is used, is when you are dealing with qualitative study, the sample size are normally small. So we normally call the sample instead of population. So people term it as sample, either instead of population. So they look at the sample rather. Then the phenomenon of interest, the experience or the behavior, the event explored, the event that you are looking at. This is purely qualitative. And then the design, the study methodology that you are using. Either you use the phenomenology, case study design, any qualitative design. Then the evaluation, the outcome of how the phenomenon is going to be judged. That's the evaluation, how they evaluate it. And then the research type, qualitative, quantitative, or the mixed method. But most of this one are qualitative and or mixed method. And you can use the PICO, the small o, PIC, small o. That is the population, phenomenon of interest, and the context. You can also use it if your study fits it. And you can use the PCC, population, context, and the population, and the concept, and the context. and you can use the SPICE, SPICE. So please, if you are doing a review, don't just rush and then choose the PICO. Look at the framework that fits your study best. Okay, now the Prisma framework. This is the Prisma. Prisma is like internationally recognized or standard framework for systematic reviews. So it's the preferred report items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And Pitch and ETA, I think Pitch and ETA, they are lots. They actually come together to have this, to give us this framework. So I say it's like internationally recognized framework. This is what actually makes systematic review systematic. So one, we talk about identification. Prisma will tell you that you have to start with identification. This is where you have to develop a good search strategy and search all the major databases and registers and record everything. Then you do proper screening. When you do your search finish, now you upload. You can upload these studies into Confidence, or you can use Ryan. Either Confidence or Ryan. You upload the studies there. Then you actually do abstract screening. Screening are in 2 stages. You have the title or abstract screening, and then the full text screening. The title and abstract screening, you are going to read the title or the abstract of all the studies. Then the full text screening, you are going to read the full all the paper. You are going to read the full paper. So in each stage, the number of articles that pass, you record it down and use it to do your Prisma flowchart. So we have the Prisma flowchart and we have the Prisma checklist. So this is the checklist. The flowchart is just a chart that actually picture the screening process. And you have to also talk about eligibility, the eligibility criteria. So your final decision on the included studies with reasons. So in a Prisma said that when you are doing this eligibility, inclusion and exclusion, during the inclusion and do the exclusion, you have to give the reason, justify why you exclude a particular study after the full test screening. So maybe after the full test screening, you had about 52 studies, but you remove some again. You have to tell us the reason why you removed them. Then the inclusion, studies taken into the review. Then the synthesis, where you decide either you want to do narrative synthesis or meta-analysis. Okay, designing a procedural search strategy. Now, search strategy is one of the most important things, so that you can do a very good search. If your search strategy is not good enough, you skip some vital articles that you should include in your study. So when you are looking at databases, when you are doing the review from health sciences, make sure you cover all the major databases that are health related. But the major ones internationally for all fields is PubMed, Web of Science, Scopus, Cochrane Central. Then you can use the original one like the AJOR. You see the AJOR. I think that's for Africa. So please make sure you use the major databases and build a search terms. Now the search term, you can use the population terms or intervention. So assuming you are doing something like effects of mobile money adoption on household income. So use the terms to build the search strategy. So mobile money adoption, mobile money usage, mobile money, any word that you can use to replace. So use what? Synonyms. Then use Boolean operators and or not. And actually join the search, the search terms together. So, but the or is actually giving synonyms. So the or is actually, you are telling the database that if it didn't find this term, it should find the other one. That's the or. But and it's actually bringing, if you find this for me. So it's used to join the major terms together. Maybe the major terms together. So if you use the, let's say we use the mobile money adoption topic. So mobile money adoption, mobile money usage, mobile money, or so you be putting or for the synonyms. When you exhaust that list, then you bring end. There may be household income, household this. So you bring the alternative words or the synonyms. Then the not is to exclude a particular term from the search. So you are telling the database that do not include this one into the search for me. So the not exclude a particular term from it. Then you can use the mesh terms. Mesh terms are normally used. I know a PubMed use these mesh terms a lot, but Google Scholar normally don't use these mesh terms. Then you have to document everything. If you do your search finish, you have to document it properly. Document it. Okay, because of time, move on. Then the screening and data extraction. Okay, with the screening, I told you have two stages, first stage and the second stage. So stage one is about the title. You read the title of the studies. You read the title of the study. And the second stage, you are going to read the full text. You are going to read the whole article from the introduction to the conclusion. Then for the review, at least two people should do the review, the screening process. When you are doing the screening, at least two reviewers have to work together. One person is not preferred in systematic review. That's where the question comes, what about if you are a student? So if you are a student, you have to also report it as a limitation that this review is for only you and it's for academic purpose. But most of the journals will reject papers that only one person actually do the screening. Then the third reviewer, you see, when you are doing, if the reviewers are three, it will help to resolve conflicts. See, the third reviewer can usually resolve conflicts. One reviewer will do the screening, the second reviewer to also do the screening. Then any conflict between the two, maybe the conflict is all about, I see a study that is okay. Your other reviewer will see it as not okay. So I'm saying it is okay. Someone says it's not okay. It's called a conflict. So now a third person have to come in to resolve those conflicts. Normally, if you are a student, let's say two students are doing a review, and you have a lecturer that is actually helping you for the review, you have to bring in that lecturer to also help you to resolve the conflicts. So in politics, majority carries the votes. So when the third person also accept that the article is okay, so she include it, then the conflict is resolved. So that's why one person doing a step. So one person, how do you know if you have conflict? So there will be a lot of bias in your selection of the studies. Okay, you can use Ryan or Covidence. So I'm very familiar with Ryan and the Covidence. Ryan, you can actually go and then use the free version, but with some limitation. You can use the free version. As a student, go to ryan.com and then create account there, and you can use it to do your screening. So when you start your article, you upload it to Ryan and you start your screening process. With Covidence, it's actually a subscription based. But the good news is that when you are a student or you are a researcher in Africa, Covidence is giving access to students that are in Africa. So write to them that you are from the low and income country. Let's say if you are from Kenya, you can have access to Covidence. Just write an email with your student's email. So please, this is a very key thing I'm giving to everyone. I did it and Covidence gave me access. So if you are a student in Africa and you are doing systematic, you are a student, PhD student, MPhil or master student, write to Covidence that you want to do a systematic review. And this is your topic, this is this is that. So you are begging them, you are pleading with them to give you an access. But the access is only one. You can only use that account to do only one review. You can use it to do only one review. So you can request and they'll give you access. That's the good news for all African students. Those that are from Africa, you can have access to Covidence. So there's no excuse that you don't have Covidence. Write to them. If you have problem how to actually write to them, you can contact maybe we can help you how to write to them. But they'll give you access. As soon as you write it to them, they'll give you access. Then you have to record every included study that you have. You have to, any study that you include into your paper. If you want to actually, if you include it, go and download the studies. Make sure you download them and then read. These days, people also use AI. You see, I don't trust AI for screening and extraction. AI will hallucinate, will give you some number that is not true. So please do this manually. Okay. So with the extraction, please just get Excel. I like it to be in Excel. If you get the articles finished, you just have a template, you develop a template yourself. Then you actually collect the data one. So you open the study. So let's say the title, you put the title there. Let's say the mean of this, you put it there. Whatever data that you want to collect, open the study itself and extract it in Excel. Do this in Excel. And Excel, we don't need to, in Africa here, we have everybody, I think most of us have Excel. So you can do this in Excel. That's the data extraction. And confidence to when you're African student, you can write to them and they'll give you access. So there's no much problem with this, how do you call it? Having access to it. Now, the other aspect is extract exactly what the paper reports and contact artists for missing data. That's the other aspect when we're doing the extraction. Sometimes you have to contact the artist. It's very important. Okay. Now, we have another exercise. We have another exercise here, but we escape this one because of the time. We have few studies, few slides that we need to complete. So we escape this one for today. Okay, risk of bias tools. Risk of bias tools. So you see, we have a lot of tools that we use in systematic review. We have the Prisma framework. We have the framework for the eligibility criteria or framework for framing the question. And we have tools that we use to do appraisals or risk of bias assessment. If you want to assess the study, if they are good or not, we have tools that we use. And the tools are, let's say, study specific. So if you are looking at intervention effects studies, you have a tool that you should use. So example, let's take the first one, primary studies. Under the primary, we have the intervention effects. If your studies about this randomized control trials, then the best tool you should use is Cochrane risk of bias to 2019 version. If they have the new version, use the new version. Then if you are looking at non-randomized studies that are not randomized control trials, then you have to use the Rubin's I. That's risk of bias in non-randomized studies of interventions. I think they have the latest version, the 2025. Use the version 2. So use that tool to actually appraise the study. If you are looking at cohorts or case control or observational studies, then use the Newcastle-Ottawa scale, the NOS, NOS, that's the Newcastle-Ottawa scale. Then if you are looking at the exposure and other designs, then use Rubin's E, that's risk of bias in non-randomized studies of exposure. If you are doing diagnostic test accuracy study, then you have to use these two, quality assessment of diagnostic accuracy studies too. If the studies developing or validating clinical prediction or prognostics models, prediction, like you want to your systematic risk about prediction, clinical prediction, then the tool that you should use for the appraisal or risk of bias assessment is this one, prediction model risk of bias assessment tool. Then if you are looking at cross-sectional studies, effect of mobile money adoption on income or whatever, they are all cross-sectional. If you are having a study like that, then use ASIS. The meaning is appraisal tool for cross-sectional studies. You can use it. Then if you are doing an umbrella study, an umbrella study, which is make systematic reviews of reviews. You are going to review reviews. If you are doing that, if you want to access systematic review, use risk of bias in systematic reviews. ROBIS, you can use the ROBIS, risk of bias in systematic review. If you actually want to maybe measure to access systematic review, you can also use the AMSTA 2. That's the measurement tool to access systematic review version 2. If you want to appraise systematic reviews of intervention. But if you want to actually access the whole systematic review, use the ROBIS. Then we have the design specific checklist. You can use Joanna Brink Institute Critical Appraisal Checklist. I like the JBI. JBI checklist. They have two for cross-sectional studies. They have a separate tool for cohort studies. They have a separate tool for prevalence studies. They have a separate tool for quasi-experimental. They have a separate tool for case control, qualitative study, and more and other ones. So if you go to the JBI checklist, when you go to their website, if you go to their website, you have a lot of a tool that you can use without even going individual. You are using some of this, or you can use this checklist, or you can use the CASP, Critical Appraisal Skills Program checklist. That one too, if you want to dive into qualitative studies, you can also get it there. You can use their checklist. And if you are also doing, if your systematic review include mixed method papers that actually use mixed method design, please then use the EMAT, MMAT. It has been developed by these Chinese people, Hong and Ital. So it's a single tool that appraises qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method studies together. And you can use the ROBME, risk of bias due to missing evidence in synthesis. This tool is hardly used, but you can also use it if you want to check publication and reporting bias across meta-analysis. If you want to review only meta-analysis, that's umbrella review. If you are doing umbrella review, and your focus is on actually review only meta-analysis, then you have to use the ROBME. I call it ROBME. ROBME, ROBME. Yes, that's the tool that you should use. Okay, so should you use meta-analysis? Should you use meta-analysis deciding the pool? So, are you going to use meta-analysis or not? This is the decision. Now, these are the rule of thumb or the features that the factors you should consider. Either you should do meta-analysis or not. One, if studies address the same PICO question, then meta-analysis can be possible. If all the studies that you are considering, they all address the same PICO. The PICO means population intervention comparison and the outcome. Or you can use the PECO or any of the framework. If they all address the same question and they actually report a quantitative figure, then meta-analysis is possible. Outcomes are measured on the same scale. So assuming they are measuring adoption, somebody will measure adoption as adopt, do not adopt. So if all the studies measure adoption as adopt, do not adopt, then you are good to go. But if some actually measure adoption as adopt, do not adopt, and somebody measure it as a scale, maybe level of adoption, I highly adopt the thing, maybe low adoption, medium adoption. You see, that scale is a bit different from the binary. So you have if the adoption is dichotomous. If it is a dummy or binary, and the other studies are also using different scale, level of adoption and other stuff, it makes the comparison very difficult. So if you actually want to do meta-analysis, sometimes then you have to use a strict rule in your inclusion criteria. You have to exclude all studies that actually use a different scale apart from the dummy. So you want to actually compare the adoption to non-adoption. So if that is your aim, any study that measure level of adoption, exclude it. But that one, people also say that Why don't you include those studies? And a lot of reviewers will be asking a lot of questions. So if you want to actually do meta-analysis, make sure your scale is the same so that they can be comparable. Study designs are comparable. If the studies are very good to be compared, that's what you do. There at least there must be a quantitative studies in your study. If there's no quantitative, don't even think of meta-analysis. All the studies that you are including in your systematic review, if they are not quantitative studies, do not even consider meta-analysis in the first place. And effect size and variances are extractable if you can actually pull figures together and form calculate an effect size. You are good to go. And the one most important thing, which is at the bottom, is the heterogeneity. Heterogeneity is the differences among the studies. If the differences are too wide, example, the heterogeneity is around 99%. In fact, don't include it. Let's move on. Now, first, if you want to do meta-analysis, then you have to consider either use fixed effects or use random effects. Either use fixed effects or random effects. So let's see, when do you use fixed effects? Use fixed effects if the assumption is true that if you assume one true underlying effect, study differences are random error only. If the study differences, if the heterogeneity, if the study differences are random error only, then use the fixed effect. How do you mean, or what do we mean by random error only? Let's come now. If the study estimate the same parameter, so the parameter, if adoption, if all the study actually measure adoption exactly and they report the same thing, then you can do fixed effect. And this is very difficult. All studies took up. You see, it is hardly that all studies will do the same thing. That's why most of the meta-analysis I came across, they are all doing random effects model instead of a fixed effect. If the weight and precision is also good, if the narrow confidence, if the interval, the confidence interval is narrow, then consider the fixed effect. But it is hardly you get this. Okay, let's go to the random effect. If studies estimates, okay, when do we use random effects? You assume a distribution of true effects across studies. You see, you can't say that all the studies that you are going to actually include in your studies, they do very similar things. There will be heterogeneity, there will be differences. So in a reality, most meta-analysis should consider random effect model because the rule for fixed effects is not easy to get it. So the rule of thumb is me, I don't even worry myself. Most of the time, I just go for the random effect. Before you do the fixed effect, if you are not careful, you'll be biased. So the random effect, even if there's some heterogeneity, you can still move ahead and do the random effect. If between study heterogeneity, because it's allowed. Because let's say you want to do meta-analysis in Africa, somebody is in Kenya doing adoption of mobile money. Somebody is also doing in Ghana here. The situation in Ghana here might be different from the situation in Kenya. So when you are doing a meta-analysis and you are comparing all those studies together, there will be high heterogeneity. So you should consider the random effects. Now let's see how we can read these forest plots. If you are doing meta-analysis, most of the time you present your results this way, like in a form of a forest plot. So this is just a sample of the forest plots. Now, how do we read it? How do you read it? Now, each row like this is one study. Each row, like Asante 2020, is you see Owusu, Mensa, Yeboah. All this, each row is a study on its own. Now, the square that you see here, this one, the square here is the study width. That's the width of the study. And I'll give you the rare one of the current study out in the next slide. I'll show you. Now, the horizontal line here is the inclusion, 95% inclusion criteria, the inclusion, the confidence interval here. Then the dash one is the null effects. Now let's so the horizontal line, this is the horizontal line, this is the dashed line, sorry. Now the diamond sign that you see here is the pool result. So this is the pool result. And then if the CI, the interval, if the lower bound and the upper bound, this is the lower bound, this is the upper bound. If it crosses 0, it is actually not significant. That means that study is not significant. So this one, we don't compute the p-value. Normally in a traditional studies or individual studies, if p-value is, if your calculated value is less than 0.05, then you say that particular test is significant. But here, we don't, the software will not calculate p-value for you. So we use the inclusion interval. You see, the interval, use the interval. So here we are using the 95 confidence interval. So this confidence interval, the CI, the 95%, normally, I normally use Stata. Stata is good at some of these things. You can use Refman and other software. But the software will actually calculate all this for you. Now let's interpret this. Let's assume this is a prevalence. A prevalence. So the single most important visualization in the meta-analysis is this one. Now let's interpret it. This, if it is a prevalence study, Asante is reporting 75% of it. So let's say if prevalence of malaria in Kenya, or let's say prevalence of obesity in Ghana. So Asante is reporting 95%. So 95% of the people are obese. Just example. Here, Owusu is reporting 85. Here, it is in decimal. It is in decimal. Here, when we say it crosses 0, this is a practical example. You see, this is negative 0.55 to 1.02. It crosses 0. It moves from negative to positive. That means it crosses 0. Since it crosses 0, it is insignificant. So what Asante reported is insignificant. What Asante reported here is insignificant. Now let's come here. Owusu 2021. The prevalence is 85. This one, you just multiply this one by 100, then to give it to you in percentage. This is in decimal. Now, see, it moved from positive to positive. That means it is significant. Now, let's come to Mensa 2022. Now, Mensa reported 68% prevalence of the obesity. Now, it moved from negative and then crossed 0 to positive. That means it is insignificant. Now let's come to Yeboah 2023. Yeboah reported 72% prevalence of the obesity. That means 72% of Ghanaians are obese. This is just a sample, it's not a real study. Now, is it significant? Yes. Now the overall, when they calculate the overall effect, the effect size is 79. So overall, all these 1, 2, 3, 4, all these 4 studies are saying that 79% of Ghanaians are what? Obese. That's the meaning. But here, this is a sample. Sometimes they will give you the heterogeneity statistics and other ones. So let's move to the next slide for you to. Please, we are going to use this slide for a practical, so put it in mind. So this is a rare meta-analysis. This is the rare one. So you can see this is the weight. So this is theta output. So the weight, they'll give you the weight. Now they'll give you the confidence interval, the lower bound and upper bound. So here you want to put prevalence of overweight in Ghana. So this person reported 10%. This person reported 25. So you see, this is the line, the overall line. And this is the overall prevalence, which is 23%. So this is a rare study. So 23% of Ghanaians are overweight. So that's when you're looking at the prevalence. This is a prevalence study. So 23% of Ghanaians are having overweight. You see, if you look at all this, they didn't cross them, all of them are significant. All of them are significant. But if it moves from negative to positive, that means it is insignificant. Now, if you look at, okay, here, let's move something here. Okay, let me move here. Move it here. Okay, if you look at down here, the random effect model is used. So we use the random effect. Now let's come to the heterogeneity. The heterogeneity is the t stat is 0.04, and then I square is 99.03, which the heterogeneity is too much. Is too much. So in this study, sometimes if you want to be at the safer side, just do your narrative synthesis and go your way. But since we use the random effects model here, you can go ahead and do subgroup analysis and see where the heterogeneity is coming from. And if you look at the obesity, the pool prevalence of obesity in Ghana here, the same thing. So these are the individual study reporting them. And see, some is reporting 40% obesity. And then the overall is what? 13%. So 13% of Ghanaians are obese. That's the meaning. 13% of Ghanaians are obese. So we have the number of success. This and then the total. This is the sample size that we took from the study. And this is the number that are obese. So in terms of these are the number. So it's this one over this. If you want to calculate the percentage, this over this, multiplied by 100 to give you this. That's how the calculation. So this divided this over this, multiplied by 100. So to give you the percentage, and the pool all. So this is the pool effect. The pool prevalence of the obesity is 13%. Okay. Because of time, let me run up. Now we will skip this practical and then. Now for heterogeneity. If your heterogeneity is between 0 and 25, you are good to go. You can do Fish effects. You can use the Fish effect model. But if your heterogeneity is between 25 to 50%, then do the random effect. You can use random effect. But you can also try the Fish effect if other factors hold. If it is between 50 to 75, that one, no matter how it is, use random effects. You can still do your meta-analysis anyway, but use or do random effect. If it's above 75%, then the pooling may be inappropriate. You present your studies narratively. You better do the systematic review. So that's why I'm saying that before you do meta-analysis, it depends on a lot of factors. It's not only that your study actually reports a quantitative figures, but if your heterogeneity is high, it becomes a problem. Okay. Now, publication bias, if you are doing meta-analysis, you look at publication bias. We use FANAPRO to also distribute that. And then common, we have ended the presentation now. If you are looking at meta-analysis, common pitfall that you should avoid, you have to register the protocol. Then combine approach with arrange should be something that you shouldn't do. Make sure all the parameters you are comparing are the same. And then trusting the abstract. No, read the entire paper. One person doing the review is not accepted, at least two. Then make sure heterogeneity is taken into consideration. Anything above 75 is very risky. Okay, so this is another exercise that we skipped. Then take away home. What are we taking away? So in my conclusion, I will say that a systematic review is a method, and the meta-analysis is a statistical step inside the systematic review. Plan first, and also register your protocol. Follow the Prisma flowchart. That makes systematic review systematic. At least 2 reviewers should also do the screening. And every included study gets a formal risk of bias assessment. Do a formal risk of bias assessment. And if you are doing meta-analysis, consider the I-square should guide you, the heterogeneity. I-square is used to measure heterogeneity. It should guide you. Okay. So if you want to draft your own protocol, follow this. Choose a topic, write the pickle, draft the search, set inclusion criteria, consider Prospero or OSF if from the social sciences. Then register it. So we will come to questions and discussions. So thank you very much for paying attention and joining this webinar. So I'll call for question now.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Please, can you just bring up the slide before this one, the assignment? Sorry, sir. I was not able to catch it before you took it away. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The
You want
assignment
me
page,
to go to which on the slide?
Yes, sir. The slides. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Please come. I didn't understand which slide.
Yes, the assignment one, the one that you put the assignment on. Assignment.
Okay, practical. Is it this practical exercise?
Okay, sir.
Because I didn't give us, there is no assignment in this presentation, but we have exercise that we want to discuss. But because the time is over, we are skipping to, we only did one exercise and we are skipping the rest.
Okay, sorry, sir. The one that you said that if you want to do a systematic review, you should follow this guideline. That particular slide.
Okay. I'm coming, I think. Yeah. Key take home lesson, this one.
Not this
you can
one,
follow
sir.
this.
Is it this one before thank you? Kindly check the slide before thank you slide, sir. The slide before thank you, before question and answer. The one before, yes.
Before thank you, this one is key features.
Okay.
But please, the slide will be shared on the platform, so don't worry. You have the slide and you can take them and read for yourself.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
But do you have a particular question regarding that slide? If you have a question, then it's good we navigate there because we are under question and discussion session.
Hello, sir. You said that we can contact you concerning the confidence and the email and the like. Sorry, sir. What's your contact, sir? How do we get across to you, sir?
Okay. If you are part of the IDA Africa platform, you can see my contact, but I'll also put it in the chat box. I will send my contact to you there, to the chat, and you can get it there. Okay.
Thank you.
So any question? Time is up.
Yeah, Ruben, thank you for your wonderful presentation.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, yes. I can hear you.
My question was really about the mixed methods, using mixed methods for systematic reviews. Whether you can also do the meta-analysis with mixed methods.
Yes, your answer is yes. You can do systematic review, but not meta-analysis. You can't do meta-analysis for mixed methods. So consider only systematic review when your major concern is using mixed method. So you have to use EMAT to do the appraisal. Okay. You have to do the EMAT to do the appraisal. That's the risk of bias assessment tool. We have a tool that you can use to appraise a mixed method design studies in systematic reviews. So yes, you can do mixed method. It's allowed. Yes, you can do it.
Okay. So the last time I also learned about using CATI for the screening. CATI.
Okay. I'm not familiar much with those one, but there are a lot of tools that are coming. But what I know, I'm familiar with is the Confidence and Ryan. But if the tool is actually going read more about the tool, if it is accepted internationally, then use it. If not, since you are in Africa, write to Confidence, write to them. Just trust me, they'll give you access. Use Confidence. You don't need to buy.
I use Rayan. I have used Rayan for systematic review before.
Okay. So you can use any other tool, but make sure the tool is good. It's accepted internationally so that people can trust your review. That's it. But I prefer the recommended one is Confidence.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, hello. Good
Yeah, I can hear
day.
you.
Yes, it's raining on my side, so if you hear any noise, forgive me.
Okay.
Okay, so my question has to do with the meta-analysis. I'm currently working on a systematic review that I want to add the meta-analysis to it. I'm having a control and treatment group in some of the papers that I've already reviewed, and I don't know how to continue with the meta-analysis. Should I look for the mean score or the effect size? That's my challenge now. So if you can kindly guide me through that one.
Okay. Are you doing sorry to ask, are you a PhD student or masters?
A PhD student.
Okay, that's fine. So meta-analysis is a bit advanced. So sometimes if you are not an expert, if you don't have the technical know-how to how to conduct a meta-analysis, you have to first contact your supervisor to assist you. Sometimes your supervisor can also refer you to maybe a technician. But meta-analysis need a lot of technical know-how to do it. But what I can tell you that yes, you can meta-analysis is possible based on what you said. Meta-analysis is possible. If you are comparing something, let's say you are comparing, you have a control, you have a treatment. Make sure all the studies that you include in your studies report some quantitative figure. Collect the mean, the variance, standard deviation, all those information. Collect all, and maybe you can seek your supervisor to come in and how to run which software you should use and run the meta-analysis. So that's what, as a PhD student, that's what you consider. Okay, and please, if you are not clear, you can come again. And if
Okay, I'm clear.
okay, any further question?
Hello,
Thank you
sir.
so much,
Ruben.
sir.
Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc.
Hello.
Please, I can hear you.
Please, can we get the recording after the presentation?
Yeah, so they'll do that. I think they'll post this on the
Yeah,
YouTube.
the recording will be shared and the
Okay.
slides as well.
Thank you so much, Ruben. My question is, what is the minimum number of articles that one should review for systematic review, and also the minimum for a meta-analysis, the minimum number of articles one should review?
Wow, this is one of the technical questions. I like your question. Thank you very much in the first place. When we talk of the number of articles to use, we don't have a specific number, but the minimum is at least, it should be at least 2. The minimum should be 2 and above. The actual number of articles that you should include in your study based solely on your screening process. So when you do your screening, any article that you got, use it. Don't remove some. I know a student that have done a good screening and had 52 articles. And the student said, I can't read these 52, so I'll use only 15. And I said, that's bias. So when the screening, if you finish all the screening process, all the full test and everything, and you have 52, use all the 52. You have to find a way of summarizing it into tables. So the rule of thumb, the minimum should be at least 2. Even that 2, sometimes they might not trust your result that much. So the average should consider something above 10. Yeah, but the minimum is 2. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any
Sir,
further?
Ruben. Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank you so much. Please, can you hear me?
Can hear you clearly.
All right. Thank you for the delivery. I want to ask about the systematic review, the number of reviewers.
most of us, I mean, are students, and so with that, what would be your recommendation to be able to get other reviewers? Are they supposed to be authors, or because it's, for instance, if it's PhD, you know, it's like individual work. How will you advise that one can do?
Okay, yeah, because of the time, let me make it simple for you. One person doing a review is very risky. The reason being that, how do you even resolve conflict among yourself? You are doing it alone. It's a problem. So sometimes, if you are a student and you are doing the review, and you have a mindset of publishing it, then you can include your other colleagues to help you with the screening and let your supervisor be aware. So let your supervisor know that I want to publish this, and only one person doing the review is going to introduce a bias. So I am doing the review with this. Or sometimes the supervisor can come in as a reviewer if you want to make it as a high standard review to publish. But if the motive is to graduate from the school, you can do it alone. The school will accept it. So for publication, that's where it becomes a problem. But for, let's say, to publish it, yes, to publish it is very difficult to publish a single paper. I found a paper that the reviewer is only one, but the reviewer reported in the limitation that they can be biased in the screening process because only one person do the review from the top to the down. Sometimes I wonder how they accept that paper, but well, that means the person is an expert, a very rank. You see, some professors, we have emeritus professors. For them, the trust level we have in them is high. So when they do something, because they are subject experts, we trust them and then we accept that review. But if you are a student, I don't think they will accept that review and publish for you. So you have to know what you want to do. For school like this, you can just do it alone because it's not acceptable for someone to help you in your thesis. So if you are doing a review as thesis, do it alone and then publish it. That one is okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question before we?
Thank you, Ruben. Can I come in?
Please, you can come in.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. My question is about the controlled vocabulary that we use for searching. PubMed has a well-established controlled vocabulary, that is MESH. But other databases, I've tried to look for their controlled vocabulary and I failed. Can I use what I got using MESH to search in other databases? Thank you.
Okay. It seems your voice is a bit down, so I didn't hear you clearly for all the questions, but I hear you partially. I don't know if you can come again or should proceed. Can you come again clearly or I should proceed?
Am I clear now?
Okay, come again. Yeah, so I'm listening again. Now I want to hear a question clearly.
The question is, can I use the controlled vocabulary which I got using the MESH terms in PubMed to search other databases? Yeah.
Okay, let me come in for you. I understand. You see, sometimes some of our university doesn't have access to some of the databases. It's a major issue in systematic reviews. Example, Scopus like this. It is hardly used. Most of African schools subscribe to it. My school used to subscribe to Scopus, but not Web of Science. I know some schools also have Web of Science subscription, but not Scopus. So if you don't have the database, you can report it in your study as a limitation. So but PubMed like this is free everywhere, so you can't have any excuse. But Scopus is something that you have to subscribe. Your school, your organization have to subscribe to Scopus, Web of Science before you can use them. So those database you need an access before you can use. So you can just file that you've done your best and you don't have access to Scopus. That's why you didn't include it. You can include it as a limitation in the review. Maybe you are supposed to use Scopus and you didn't use it. Write it specifically that you don't have access to Scopus. You are limited. That's the limitation. You are limited to only a few database. And if your limitation is convincing, I think reviewers will accept it. Okay, that's fine. I think that's my honest answer to that. Any other one? Any other question? Or we close?
Okay. Okay, Doc. Good evening, Doc.
Yeah, evening.
Please, I'm Hussein. My issue is I've reviewed 15 articles, but it's not systematic, it's narrative. So, but that is from this review that I had my research proposal from. So I was.
Please, are you done? I can't really understand clearly. Oh my goodness, I really lost him. So I think if there's, I didn't hear. Okay, I see one hand up, George Atab Abuaji. So George, if you've not talked yet, you can talk. I'm now checking the chat and see if there is other further question there.
I have already asked the question.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I asked about the control and the treatment group that I have in my papers that I'm reviewing.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So those that requested for my contact, I put it in the chat, so you can pick it straightly from the chat.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, how can we get this slide, first of all, that you used to present? Can we have the PDF form or something?
Okay, so contact, I think the slide will be available. They'll normally post it in either Africa platform. So try and join the platform.
So how do I join the platform actually?
Either Munini, I think Munini will help you with that. So I'm just so Munini will help you.
I got notification of this thing from my school's platform. Someone posted your flyer. So I just joined with the link. So I'm not on your platform, any of your platform, whether WhatsApp or whatever. So that's what I'm asking.
Okay, they'll post it. I think please, Munin, if you can hear us, please, you can post the Ida Africa platform here so that people can join.
Yes, just a minute. I'm trying to get the link.
That's fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
I've come back once again.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. I would like to find out if maybe another session you take us through the tutorial, maybe how to use the meta-analysis in the software that you mentioned, that's Stata software, and be conversant with it.
Okay.
That's a humble plea that I'm pleading.
Oh, okay. That one is a decision from Ida Africa. If
Okay.
you plan for that, I think we will communicate it to you.
Okay. Okay.
Doc, I don't know whether I can ask my question again.
Or if you have, why not? You can ask, since we not proceed.
I was asking about the narrative review. So mine is a bit out of what you are discussing. But I use narrative because I wanted to find the gap and then address it. And after the review, I reviewed 15 articles. So I actually find a gap, and that is what I've used as my proposal. So, but I was looking a way to publish it. But
Okay.
some of
So,
these are the challenges.
Which field from are you? Are you from health sciences or social sciences or other field?
No, it's cybersecurity.
So that is, I think, should be part of the social sciences, not health sciences.
Okay.
So please go and register the protocol first from OSF.
Okay.
Let me put it in the link. OSF.
Oh. Okay.
Yes, it's OSF.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
So when you register the protocol, then you can find a journal that is suitable for your paper. Then you can submit it.
Okay.
Narrative review is good to publish. You can publish it.
Okay, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome.
So I've shared the link you can use to register, and you'll be added to the WhatsApp group. Then you'll be able to get the resources that are being shared.
Very good. Thank you very much. So those that want to join the Ida Africa platform, please they've put the link in. So click on the link, and whatever is sent you, just feel free and then fill it, and then you'll be part of the platform. Then you can get the slide, the recordings, and everything. Okay. So I'll hand over to the Ida Africa facilitator, then we take over and then close the session.
Thank you all so much for joining us in today's webinar. For those who are not in the WhatsApp group, you can join using that link. You'll be added to the group, and then the resources will be shared there. And also the recording for today's meeting and the slides will also be shared. Yes, thank you so much for coming, and have a blessed night.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you so much for that content.
Okay.
Thank you.